Amelia left me for an island. I never knew Puka Puka existed, nor could I place it on the world map. I thought I would be with Amelia forever. I could never imagine that this remote atoll in the Pacific would change my life.
It's a strange thing, memory. I didn't even believe that Puka Puka was real. More like a dream place. I was 5 years old when we left. It had been 30 years. And then one day I picked up Johnny Frisbee's book, Miss Ulysses from Puka Puka. And literally within reading 3 pages, I knew I had to go back to this place of my childhood that she wrote about. It wasn't a decision, wasn't a choice, it was a calling.
Many of my dreams are of Puka Puka, you know. I guess because just the memories are there all the time. Where I am going to go when I die is Puka Puka. That's where I'm going.
I never thought I would be making this film. But I had to embark on this journey to understand the world she had left me for. Amelia and I met more than a decade ago in Hawaii when I was working on another documentary film, and she was getting her doctorate degree in psychology. From the very first conversations we had, she told me about her childhood memories in Puka Puka. I was living with her that Sunday afternoon when she picked up Johnny Frisbee's book. She came to the living room and said, "Puka Puka is real. I need to find a way to get back." I was so excited for her. We were in a committed relationship when Amelia went to Puka Puka for the first time. By then, we had been wanting to start a family. I was older, so I would try first. But when she came back from Puka Puka, everything was different. She told me she could no longer integrate me into her life. I was so heartbroken.
Ni I ka mamata a mātou mea, kinaki ki te wuti toko.
Kinaki ki te wuti toko ki te tai.
So poetic when you say it.
It's okay, you can do it.
Kinaki ki te wuti toko ki te tai.
E ki ai na mama o taku wanonga, ko mataku o ki au i te titolo. I was afraid of ghosts. E ia ulua i au ki tai o kukonga angiangi. Kele kele ke kena, nua i au ki ralo.
Oh, there's my father and me.
This one? Oh, is he teaching you how to write or how to? Oh, wow! You can tell he had that spirit of adventure. I think he said the Frisbee spirit of adventure riddled with fearlessness.
Yeah, that's right.
That was your line. That's your book.
Yeah, yes.
Wow, it was in the Chicago Sunday Tribune front page. And it looks just like you, Johnny.
It does, in a way. I don't know how they did it.
Hello?
Hello, here we are in Paradise Island.
Amelia will speak to you in a little while as she's off playing.
There's really nothing I need. There's nothing we need. There's nothing Amelia needs. There's nothing Rob needs. Nor wants.
Well, I want to be finished with my research for that, so... No, there's nothing really in material objects that we need.
Yesterday, another boat came and brought us milk biscuit. And her M&Ms. Her candy. She doesn't know what money is. It means candy in English. Pebbles. But she doesn't know what pebbles are. It's like M&Ms. That's what they call them in America, M&Ms.
We came to Puka Puka when I was 1, but we left when I was 4.5. My memories of Puka Puka are very visceral, very physical. I remember the sound of the waves crashing on the reef, the taste of the roasted bird, and I remember our house on the beach. It's like it hits my body first, and then I try to make sense of what the memory is. There's just a feeling of trauma and survival and life on the edge, and playing and having a great time too, but an intense daily life. Later in my life, I began thinking about the need to face that trauma or somehow heal it. So I went to see a psychologist. She said to me, you know, what is it that you panic about? And I said, I panic about being cold, hungry, and on the verge of death. And she just looked at me and said, that's not a panic, that's a memory. It just hit me that I needed to go back to Puka Puka. And I just kind of exploded my whole life in order to come back. I left everything I had known and made this epic journey.
Once I learned that Johnny Frisbee was living in Hawaii, I knew I needed to meet her. When she told me about her life, it sounded so epic, and I thought maybe we can make a film together. Johnny had not been back to Puka Puka in 20 years. Her brother Charles was still living there, and she wanted to see him one last time. So she agreed to go with all of us. I thought then that this journey will be my way to see Puka Puka with my own eyes. Keep my relationship with Amelia, maybe even repair it. Understand why she had taken such a turn, and come to terms with it.
My father's profession as an anthropologist. When he came to Puka Puka with my mother and myself as a one-year-old, there really hadn't been much westernization in the late 1970s. As a child in Puka Puka, you have 100 playmates. You run free with your playmates. I mean, you forget your parents, they're not that important. I remember that feeling of freedom, of running around, going where I pleased, when I pleased, how I pleased. I know from my mom that I was gone from dawn to dusk, and I remember that feeling of wandering.
I'd say Amelia's upbringing was very unconventional. She chose not to speak English. She chose to speak Puka Pukan, and she was much better at Puka Pukan than English. Amelia would walk around with the other kids, and after she was used to it, her feet were really tough. You don't have slippers there, and it's coral, rough coral, but everybody walked around without shoes, and they were just fine, and their feet were tough.
I was 2, a boat came. It was going to Samoa, and passengers were invited, and then the boat was gonna come back. My mom was like, hey, let's go. It was only gonna be gone for 2 weeks, and then they were gonna come back. And so they start gathering their stuff, and my mom said, oh, we'll just leave Amelia with the neighbor. That's what Puka Pukans do. They just leave children with other families. I think they thought they were only going to be gone for a week or 2. I think it ended up being about 3 weeks. I just remember this feeling of being alone, scared, cold, and hungry. And later my parents said that the woman, the neighbor who took care of me, had told me that my parents had died. So I never thought they were going to come back. But my mom says that when I came back, I wouldn't speak to them. It was like I had seen ghosts. And my dad said my eyes looked totally hollow. I didn't look like I was all there. And they said it took like at least a month for me to speak to them.
My name is Florence Ngatokorua Frisbee, but I'm known as Johnny.
I was born in Papeete, Tahiti, 1932.
My mother, she was a Pukapukan. While my mother was in labor, my father was celebrating with friends. They were all captains of schooners, and they were drinking a lot of whiskey. And that's how I got my nickname, Johnny, Whiskey Johnny.
Lovely Whiskey Johnny Frisbee, most famous of all hula dancers. Born 2,300 miles south of here on a coral atoll. Her father, adventurous Robert Dean Frisbee, an American novelist. Her mother, a Polynesian beauty.
My father, at the time, he was the only white man. So growing up was slightly different for us than the rest of the Pukapukan children because of the white man father and Polynesian mother.
My father came to the South Seas, as it was known in those days, a very romantic name for these parts of the world, in the early 1920s.
He ended up on Pukapuka because he was looking for a place that was isolated from civilization, somewhere quiet, somewhere peaceful, somewhere natural. And he found Pukapuka. He applied for a job as a trader looking after a small store. Got the job and sailed there and liked it and found what he was looking for, paradise. Then he began to write.
He wrote 6 books about Pukapuka, Tahiti, and 2 novels. My parents had 5 children, 2 boys and 3 girls. Yes, Charlie, the oldest, me, then Jakey, and then Elaine, and Nga. The eldest of our family, Charles Mata'a Frisbee, was born on Rarotonga at the time when my father was away. And my mother was 17 years old and being cared for by a great aunt, Piki Piki. Her name is Piki Piki.
Pukapuka, you give away your children, your firstborn, first, second, third, whoever is waiting to have a child from you as a gift.
And so Charles was born, and Piki Piki said, well, he's mine. And my mother, I don't know, she may have been in shock, maybe torn between the 2 cultures, knowing my father would just not agree to this. But she said, okay. To her, it's fine, we do this, And so Piki Piki took Charles as her own. And when my father returned, he had no son.
She took Charlie and hid in the bush until my father left the island.
It's so long. So long.
Yeah. I've been 30 years, right?
Maybe, yeah. Oh, look at the rundown house here, Te Garo.
No, Te
Garo. Our father is buried over there.
Ah, yeah. That's right. Da 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 dee 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 dee.
Come, come.
Maatango te. Maatango ki o te. Ia papa.
Do 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 do.
In so many ways, he wanted me to be an island girl, but for some reason he sensed that I could also learn to write. When we lived on Pukapuka, we had a house and there was a room, which is rare. He had a little library, a desk for his typewriter, and carbon paper and a ream of white paper. And he used to allow me to enter that room, which was a no-no otherwise, because, there was all these precious things that are not available anywhere else on Pukapuka. I thought his library, all the books were Bibles, because there were no books on the island at the time. If there were, kids didn't know. I remember him asking me once to get the dictionary. So I said to him, "Oh, the Bible," like correcting him. And he said, "No, the dictionary." So I bought the dictionary. Watching him type, boop, 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 to turn the carrot, boop, 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 was fascinating. And then he takes a page out, and there's writing on this page. No, there's actually writing. When we moved to Samoa, he asked me to keep a diary of our life up to that point. That was in 1945. And it was quite scary doing it because for the first time, I had to something that makes sense and write it down on paper. This is a European thing. It's not my thing, kind of. But he wanted me to go through that exercise of putting a story together. He told me about chapters. And then eventually the diaries evolved into Miss Ulysses from Pukapuka. Mm-hmm. And it was published before he died.
Cold breeze, eh? Really breeze.
Papa was an atheist, and he wasn't really happy with the way Christianity was introduced to our people in the early 1800s. And he was very angry about that, very upset. Oh, you didn't know Papa very long, did you?
Hey?
You didn't know him very long.
Yeah, well,
enough.
Right, yeah, I know, yeah.
I can remember when you first met him. Charles always had horses, loved horses. He lived a great life in New Zealand. He was a successful jockey. He worked hard. He married a Maori woman and they had 6 beautiful children. He learned many skills. He's a real survivor. But there is that element of loss that he carries with him. He's never known my mother. No, he's never known my mother.
I was a very favorite son of theirs because first Cook Island had to ride horses, and even if I was riding a donkey, they should put their money on. Every time Mama Piki Piki heard about Frisbee coming to our place, she takes me into the taro patch and hides me there. That's how my Mama Piki Piki loves me so much, yeah. And I love her too. And I think I prefer to stay with her instead of having to go with my father to see the world and go to school to learn and prosper.
He loved you.
Yeah, thank you, Johnny.
He loved you, yeah.
Yeah,
He's very
thank
proud
you.
of you.
Yeah, thank you. I love you too. Yeah. Hey?
Oh, these are lilies. This is
Those are lilies, yeah. Yeah, I think they brought flowers But these ones are the weeds, see? But.
All right, we aren't going to be returning until probably May 1981. The reason being is that I'm pregnant now again, unplanned, but what are you going to do? And I'm not allowed to travel by ship anyway after 6 months pregnant, so we'll just have to stay here.
She ate some fish that was bad, maybe like a day-old fish. They also didn't have refrigeration, and it made her have contractions early. And so she went into labor prematurely, and because Puka Puka didn't have any equipment really at all, there were no incubators, nothing. My mom says it was alive at the time, and then it died shortly after. And they put it in a bucket. And I was 4.5 when this happened, so I have some vague memories of it. I remember a lot of blood and crying. I have an image of children spying and not being able to get rid of them. Real feeling of helplessness. She just told my dad she was ready to go, so shortly after that we left.
And when my mother passed away, I was 6.5, I think, close to 7, yeah. Then my mother's family wanted their share of my mother's children. 2 of the children would have meant me and my brother. There was a point when they did come to our house and ask and say, it's time, you give us 2 children. And we were entitled to 2 children. And that shook my father. He decided then to leave. So the first boat that came to Puka Puka, which was an awful, awful, awful boat, he said, take us to the nearest island. We got off the boat and there we were on an uninhabited island, Suvaro. We learned the art of survival by having to fish and having to learn to grab lobsters, and cooking it ourselves and catching tropic birds. And, it was just amazing. And it was all fun.
We knew the hurricane was coming, heading straight for Suvaro.
We gathered in our house on the highest point of the island, which could have been about 20 feet above sea level. And we were all in there in the dark, the wind blowing, and you can hear trees, cracking, breaking. And then suddenly, huge wave just crashed into the building, and the water carried all of us to one side of the house. And my father said, get out of here, just follow me. My father, he had prepared a dinghy. He tied it to a tree. We got into the dinghy, another wave came and just turned the dinghy over. We know what to do. We been on tipped canoes before. When it tips over, you just dive down deeper and come out. You don't come out there. So we all did. We were popping air, coconuts passing and debris passing through us. There was so much lightning, you could actually see everything. So my father would say, just crawl to the tamanu tree. And we crawled to the tree, and he helped us climb up to the tree. And he tied us to the trees. We survived. And those trees were the only tamanu trees that withstood the force of the hurricane.
We're not scared, We didn't feel threatened. I sometimes wonder if it's because of my father, because he was so strong.
Hey, Croc. Hey, I'm Gemma Cubero. I'm the filmmaker.
They can go across the top of her panel she has on her craft. Jellyfish.
Yeah.
And protection.
That's beautiful.
The patterns are a reflection of, many aspects of living in isolated islands, Polynesian life. They've been passed down through generations. And of course, they adapt to different living and different meanings. They mutate, they grow. But the foundation of the designs are cultural patterns. They run very deep.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, well done, Mama. Love you. That's great. Hey.
I'm proud, too. When I saw it, the paper, there was a couple of months ago, I kept it and I'm taking to New Zealand.
Yeah, this is where the Pukapukans, when they come to Rarotonga, they stay here for a while to get used to the change before they move on to New Zealand. And it's a very good place for that to happen right here, because there's so many helpers, the old people giving them, some good advice, even though they've never been to New Zealand. They give them comfort, emotional comfort. It's a good place. It's a haven.
So when my father died, I moved in with the manager of the airstrip in Rarotonga. Yeah, I moved there to do domestic work for them. We were all separated. Then I met up with the Engels. Brian Peter Engel was a friend of my father's.
And he was a movie actor by the name of Peter Whitney.
They came from Hawaii, and they were sailing the Pacific. And I said, I will only come if I am a part of the family, not a servant. because at the time, all the girls my age in the Cook Islands were being sent to New Zealand to work as
maid.
Once I moved there, I was determined to bring my sisters to Hawaii.
And it was a challenge to meet so many haoles, so many Europeans. At the time, I still was not comfortable speaking in English. So 1950, I was 18, but I started school in 18 because of not having the formal education to back me up. But I did good. I really did good. I received all A's, which then allowed me a scholarship to Punahou private school. I had difficulties with the discipline. It was so different from how our father taught us. It didn't prepare us. Almost gave up, but I stayed on and managed to graduate. Not with high marks, but I graduated. I dance on Sunday every luau at a nightclub in Waikiki. Now and again, my sisters would join me. And eventually, my sister took over my place, and she built this most fantastic show called the Puka Puka Otea. She brought dancers from other islands and trained them, and she had drummers and guitar players, ukulele players, singers. And that went on for years and years at the Queen Surf, which no longer exists in Waikiki.
Johnny. For that catchy song and cultural performance.
How was that?
We have been waiting in the capital of the Cook Islands, Rarotonga, for transport to get to Puka Puka. The only way to reach the atoll is by chartering a very expensive private plane or to go by sea, which takes 6 days. There are no hotels or supermarkets on Puka Puka, so we're now getting all the food we need for the weeks we will be filming.
Awesome. Country soft red, what is that?
That's the wine, the red wine.
Oh, yeah, one of those. Okay. Onions, 20 kilo bag of onions.
Island is going to sing.
was with us such a short time. All that I can remember of her are those things that cannot be forgotten. She had the purest, kindest, and most beautiful heart of any woman I have known. No one could love a person more than I did Mama. This book is The Frisbees of the South Seas, my mother's autobiography, her second book. I feel very much the same about my mother. She is pure, she's kind, gentle, all those wonderful things. When I was young, when I saw my mother crying one night, and I asked my father, what's the matter? And he said, oh, she's crying because she misses her mother. Puka Puka is her mother. It was where her mother was born, where her mother died, and where she lived. Those years that she had with her mother, they all happened at that place. That is why she has yearned for it, as she yearned for her mother.
Just that little. Yeah, right there. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Johnny always told me that if we were going to go on this trip, it would be a spiritual journey. I wonder what I will find.
Big woman here with the red. Hello, brother. Kia ora koe. Kia ora, Charlie. Come on.
You look good. Am I? Getting all and over. No. It's good to be back. It's really good to be back. I just feel like I want to explode. Yeah. I'm out there. If I keep going, I might cry. So, yeah.
We left Puka Puka when I was 4.5 years old and got to Hawaii, and I had never seen a toilet before. I had never seen street lights. I had never seen a car. I had never seen a dog. My mom likes to tell a story of how I saw all the street lamps, and I said many moons. I can still remember the first time I saw a toilet and flushed the toilet and being terrified that the water would suck me in.
Transitioning to Hawaii and the pace of life, even though Hawaii is a slower pace than the mainland, was still really fast for us. In Hawaii, I had to spend a lot more time with Amelia because before she would be taken care of by everybody, and now I had to watch her and make sure she was okay and not wandering around. And in America, you're supposed to know where your child is at every moment. I left Amelia with my parents at a picnic grounds, and we walked off somewhere, and I was supposed to say, I am going over here for an hour. Will you watch the children? And I didn't do that. So this was a faux pas, and I got scoldings. It was different to get used to the expectations here, and child rearing is very different.
In kindergarten, you had to match words and pictures. So I could read the word dog, for example, D-O-G, but I'd never seen a dog, so I couldn't match the word with the picture. So they thought I was really slow and put me in special education for a while. You know, all my memories up to 5 are of Puka Puka, and we didn't have any mirrors. Obviously, I looked at my parents and they weren't brown, but I really think that I thought racially I was brown. So when we got to Hawaii, I suddenly became white or haole. And I was confused by it because I really saw myself as brown or as Polynesian. And I really, really felt lonely. I never felt like I belonged. I ended up going to Punahou, which is a fancy private prep school in 7th grade. Nancy, who was one of the popular girls, saying to me, Amelia, you're like an alien that just landed from outer space. That's something that stayed with me my whole life.
This is the same house and same spot. Every Puka Pukan, I would say, has a dream of going on the outside, getting money, and coming back and rebuilding the family house. So it became a dream of mine after a while to rebuild the family house. I mean, rebuilding the house was about recapturing the past. Rebuilding the house was about trying to recapture my memories. I think there was a part of me that thought if I saw it and I sat here, something would come back. Rebuilding the family house was about belonging. You know, that if I had a house here, I belonged to the land. Your presents from Hawaii. Akamakoi. Akamakoi, Amy. Okay. It's a gift-giving culture, so presents are really important. Presents are more important than money. And it's about what you give, not what you have. Hey, Dory.
Inaya!
Vitiongo! There you go.
Thank you very much.
From Mama Becca.
Becca.
Tamo pepe aye, ipatu kai namo. Hey, elatonake, yaula piralo luawe. Tamo pepe aye.
Viti ono koto.
Ay, bolo.
Go Lele. Woo! Look at that! Wow! Pitiongo! Palu palu!
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord!
Praise the Lord. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah! And the women in Puka Puka are really, really strong. Taro patches pass from one woman to another all the way back to the ancestors. We have a really strong sense of owning part of the land and half the food, and there's a division of labor, but it's also really empowering to, I find, to know what my role is. I don't have to do everything, I just have to go to the ui.
This is an abnormal coconut, you know, it didn't turn out round, oval. And as little girls, we adopted these as dolls. So these were our doll. We'd put little coconut leaf skirt around them, put them to bed, and sometimes we'll take them for a swim and just throw them in the lagoon, and they float around while we swim, and rescue them before they disappear. But they were dolls. And this other one, you bend it like this. Now I'm going to go to the dance tonight.
Wow. Johnny, if you still have your breath, could we ask you a few questions?
Yes.
Where were you born?
Papeete Tahiti, but I didn't live there all the time.
Oh, I thought not. You speak English very well.
Oh.
Where else have you lived, Johnny, besides Papeete?
On the atoll of Puka Puka, which is only a mile long and half a mile wide.
Well, what did you find to do there on that atoll that was enough to write a book about?
Oh, play hide and go seek, fish.
Hide and go seek, huh?
Yes.
Well, that does sound like an interesting...
My father was very, very popular and very well known. And she was well known in her own right at that point because she had her dance show on Waikiki with her sisters. She met my father who had been going out with her sister, Ngā Tukurua, but that broke up, and so my mother took over. Ngā Tukurua went and married Batman, Adam West. My mother married my father. And he is charismatic, very charismatic, funny. I think she saw some elements of her father there too. And he loved her for her Pacific nature.
I have 4 children. They all grew up in New Zealand, went to school in New Zealand, because we wanted to take them away from the American influence. I couldn't think of anything else more meaningful. Though I wasn't vegetating, I wasn't giving up everything else, music, dancing, the things that interested me to help me develop into a fuller woman, a fuller human being. But my children, and they alone were my total focus in life. So.
She was tireless in her giving to the community, supporting people from the Pacific who came to New Zealand and found it a very different place. She was eventually awarded a Queen's Service Medal for her community work. She was on a television program for 10 years called Beauty and the Beast.
I'm 20, my boyfriend's 21, we've been together for nearly a year. He's soon to go away for 2 months and I'm afraid he might play round with some other girl.
Now, if you really love this guy, then you can trust him and he can trust you.
Johnny?
I think it's very well to trust someone, but it's still difficult to say that, I trust that person no matter what. It's still in the back of your mind. But I suggest, since you've already conjured up this, this image of your boyfriend away having a great time, you just stick to that and think of what a wonderful time he's going to have playing around, and you're at home staying, sitting there by yourself, and just enjoy yourself by these thoughts.
My mother's advice was always very different. Basically, she's saying to people, just chill out a bit, it's okay. You don't need to angst so much.
How come there aren't as many fish here in Puka Puka? There used to be more in the old days?
Yeah. Before we go fishing, it takes only a few hours to get fish. Not now.
How come?
Maybe if the climate changed. Reo tayo ko ite mea ia.
The people of Puka Puka now are realizing something strange is happening because the land is getting smaller. Many of them are leaving, moving to New Zealand. Many of the old people refuse to move. They're going to be there and disappear with the land as far as they're concerned.
Now I see how islands are not isolated, but connected by water. I'm so moved by the deep sense of order here. How there is always time to work hard, to play hard and pray. Time is circular here.
There's a lot of freedom. Children have lots of freedom.
And then we're left to figure it out and not be so closely guarded and watched.
You grow up being a survivor, fully respecting nature, the waves, the seas.
Children, the rules are of the land. Life just flowed.
Look at this one here. Look at that.
Just went to the beach and walked and swam and fed some little fishes with coconut, chewed up coconuts. And that's it. Took my clothes off. There was nobody around.
Yes, what you call husking coconut.
Took me back to my childhood, and it was nice. You know, you don't often have the opportunity in life to reach that state where you can actually pretend you're a kid again.
That's me 3 daughters. That's me son over there with his wife.
Oh, wait a minute. Who's that?
That's her daughter.
Oh.
So, Puka Puka. Oh no, this is Papua New Guinea?
That's Papua New Guinea.
Whoa.
That's what I was in Papua New Guinea, Banguna.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was in Banguna, Papua New Guinea. Welding, boiler making, yeah. We built all those ships and all that, the big
Put it
buildings
together.
and all together, yeah.
Glue
and all
it together.
That.
That's a
No,
word.
we don't glue it together. With the chewing gum, yeah. There's my girlfriend, see?
Another one. Which
I
one?
was very popular.
Is that number 50?
How many times have I been married? Well, only 2.
That you can remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah, only 2.
Wait, Papa Charlie, hold on a second. I want to smell your breath.
Okay, idea.
Oh, Papa Charlie. Are you okay to drive?
Yes, of course. In Puka Puka, everyone is kind to you. You know, you can go to any house, you might receive some food or something like that, or someone bring you a coconut, but not in Rarotonga. In Rarotonga, there's too many tourists, I suppose. You have to buy it, you have to have enough money. But over here in Puka Puka, you just help yourself with huto and all that. No one will tell you, hey, leave that huto, that's mine. You can live a good life in Puka Puka.
He came here so that he could be a Puka Pukan. And by being a Puka Pukan, then he's his mother's son. It's his way of finding his identity, and he's been here for a long time. We're nothing else but Puka Pukans.
I've been kind of desperately wanting a kid for about 10 years now. And being with Hema, we tried a few times. With her, it didn't happen. For some reason, I really got stubborn about wanting to connect somehow to the place by having a Puka Pukan child. So I thought about adopting a Puka Pukan child, all sorts of things. Finally decided to try and get pregnant with a Puka Pukan. I did. And then I had a miscarriage. That was really painful. It felt like a really big loss. first time I came to Puka Puka, I felt like I had to abandon one to have the other. I didn't know how to be both with women and with men, how to be both white Jewish and Puka Pukan. It felt like almost nothing on the outside was relevant anymore in Puka Puka. Not my doctorate, not my relationships. And there was a feeling of somehow I couldn't integrate who I'd been.
When I came back to Puka Puka, everyone was telling me, this is where your baby brother was buried, right here. And it just made me feel, yeah, I have a connection to this land. People were saying, you know, hey, Amelia, are you going to be buried here? Are you going to be buried in Puka Puka? And I think they were asking me, are you for real? Like, are you committed to this place? You would say, how many children have you had? And they would say, 6, 2 died. Had a strong sense of place. Born and laid to rest.
There we go. Who wants a glass?
Where's the glass?
While shooting Papa Charlie's birthday, my left leg collapsed. I had to stop filming. I laid on a mattress, not realizing that I would not be able to walk for weeks. When this happened, the community completely mobilized to help me. For months, Moko, the taunga, or the healer, came every single day to work on my body. And he said to me, "You do your job, and I do my job." He never asked for anything in return. I know now that my injury was more than physical, and that it was through Moko I was able to release the emotional pain I was holding. This was a transformative experience for me.
I was on Rarotonga in 1994. The Puka Pukan people on Rarotonga of the Democratic Party approached me and asked me if I would stand for the seat of Puka Puka. But I thought, okay, if they want me to, I'll go, and maybe I might make a difference.
Ko kunato no ina ke tu wai me mamo wale nei very la te toe ka wale nei.
Soon after I arrived, I learned the political party system had somehow just damaged the community. Families were split, you know, one group joined the Cook Islands Party, the other the Democratic Party, and they just weren't speaking to each other. It was awful, awful, awful.
But at the same time, I was doing really well. The opposition party sent for the Prime Minister of the Cook Islands to come to Puka Puka right away. And he brought cartons of slippers to give away and rum to buy votes. Once he distributed all these gifts, I knew then I didn't have a chance.
Mea ngau tiane te manako tiane na mea loa ke meitaki a wale nei. Ko tona manako na koa ngaia. I mō koe na tūngo ai mema e nei au ale nei ko le kale kaua. Yeah. Tai a tāua gonga ki te ula papaya.
Ke nai te ula papau I te pōwai.
Te pō, vale alo a koe. Vale alo a koe.
Ula mātou e ora lua.
Ora lua.
Pukapukans are very, very political people, but in a different way. The villagers compete with each other in sports, in fishing, in chanting, in composing. It has a lot of humor in it. They make fun of each other and people laugh.
If you don't have children. Here they call you angakole, someone useless or not worth being fed. So everyone was teasing me and calling me useless, basically, for not having kids.
9, 8, 10, 4.
To be given a child would be truly being accepted as part of the family. I mean, you only give children away as a special gift to people. For me to have a Pukapukan child would mean a deeper sense of belonging.
I've got 7, and I've got 4 boys and 3 girls. And I had a miscarriage in 2009. And I teach grade 1, and they are 5 and 6 years old children. I love Amelia. She's my sister. She's also a member of my family too. My 3rd child is baby girl. She was adopted by my auntie, Damo, and my uncle Nick. I gave her to them because they don't have any children. Because it's something that I gave them from my heart. I trust them and I believe them they are going to look after her well. When I look at Amelia, I felt for her. I wanted to give one of my child to Amelia. I talked about it with my partner. We had a discussion about it. Then it was again it was hard It was hard. It was very hard for me to make my decision.
Rib, but how many rib are there?
Many.
Yeah, so what should it be?
Ribs.
Ribs, okay. Dala, come, you had a good try. Your turn, next. Ready?
Atala? Kneecap. I volunteered to teach English at the school, and I had a blast. Quite doing what?
Dental.
This is dental practitioner. 4 o'clock, eh? Mom? Because her grandfather used to work in New Zealand from 4 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, Mom? So that's why she's named 4 o'clock. This is Teatua. I started writing articles for the Cook Island News. I just felt like I really had a space and a sense of purpose as a teacher and as a writer. It was part of the magic of being back here, was being seen and giving a gift back to the place. Felt useful. I just fell in love with the children and the school and with my own little vulnerable, traumatized self, and with the community and with the old people. I just fell in love with it all. I was charged with starting the tertiary program. This program brings villagers into the school and has them teach how to live off the land.
Nowadays in Puka Puka, we've got mobile phones, so they've got no time for weaving and all the traditional stuff. But whereas when Amelia came and started the program, she kind of revived those things.
My students started jokingly calling it the University of Puka Puka, and so that name stuck.
I was one of the person who supported the program, but there wasn't not enough youth who wanted to attend. Maybe that's one of the difficulties that she faced.
The youth were really busy. The girls had cooking to do. There was politics going on. I just did not understand. It's all the government bureaucracy.
This way? Walking through the villages in Puka Puka, I felt like I was back in my father's hometown of San Pablo de la Moraleja, a small Castilian village in Spain. And believe me, I know I don't come from the Pacific, but there was something so familiar about living in this tight-knit community, about the people and this rural way of life. Being able to come here and make this film has made me understand Amelia more and come to peace with the fact that our relationship had to end. Puka Puka is not a mystery for me anymore.
buried some our toys in here for her. It was so long ago, and yet it's just, painful. I don't know how to get over these things. Yeah, I wish I could come here too. Nice. There's a lot of juice in this nice, rich, oily, like butter, melted butter. It's our plates.
Oh my God. This is insane. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Seventh heaven, oh, it's delicious. Yeah, it's food for the gods. Coconut crab is. You're limited to how many you can have. From what I heard, there was a 2-year ban on catching the crabs, and there was so much when they finally harvested them a little while ago. There was enough. They caught over 1,000. They trapped over 1,000 coconut crabs, enough for each person to have 2. Yeah, on the island. Well, that's what we must do, is to just protect these delicacies so we can have them forever and ever. Very glad I came. Very happy. Yeah, it makes you wonder why I ever left.
Kauani.
Oh, oops. Maina, whoa. What a huge lake. Mm.
Ano wow na pobi au te taimini.
Whoa, na povi.
Nga li mangauru.
Whoa, ia toko mata witi ka pai tatai te pangauru.
The making of this film has made me understand the deep imprint that Puka Puka has made on Amelia and Johnny's life. And Johnny was right. Puka Puka has been a spiritual journey for me.
My whole life had been a story of not belonging. And so to come back here and find a story of belonging and to find some positive memories of this place was really healing.
Thank you.
I had found something so deep and so important. In the end, I've just had to connect to it by myself on my own terms and not through a partner, not through a child.
I was just so grateful we had time to be together, to be with my brother Charles. So very, very grateful. You know, it's just a gift that this happened. I feel like my mother and father were with me, and I'm taking them with me. And I think the result may be it would rid me of my loneliness for them.
I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that I'll come back to Puka Puka. No matter where I go in the world, I still always have Puka Puka so that I can leave and I still have this place deep inside of me.